I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are severely underrated heading into the 2023 NFL season, and I don't really understand why. Last season, the Steelers went 9-8 and actually dealt with a lot during the season. Having a new quarterback for the first time in quite a long time since Ben Roethlisberger retired was kind of a new, fresh start for the organization. And early on, you could feel the ramifications of having a new quarterback in and not really a lot of experience at that position. The Steelers started the year 2-6, and at that point, a lot of people had them finishing as one of the worst teams in the league, finishing with a top pick and maybe even investing that pick into another quarterback. But similar to what the Steelers have done under Mike Tomlin since he's arrived in Pittsburgh, they completely turned around their season and won 7 of their last 9 games to end with another winning season. I'm sure at this point most people know of Tomlin's historic stat having 16 straight winning seasons, which is the 3rd most in NFL history. But the Steelers did not make the playoffs last year despite finishing with that winning record. Ultimately, I think that's going to be their goal this season, is to build off of last year and actually make the playoffs this year. And one, when you break down the roster, and 2, you see Kenny Pickett in his development, especially in the preseason, it's hard not to imagine the Steelers making the playoffs this year. Now, Pickett as a rookie wasn't necessarily impressive as far as his stat line went. He completed 63% of his passes for 2,400 yards, 7 touchdowns to 9 interceptions with a 76.7 quarterback rating. But with how he started the season with his first few starts versus how he ended the year with multiple comeback from behind wins, his development was on full display and gave Steeler fans some hope heading into his sophomore season. I actually made a video about Kenny Pickett earlier this offseason and the work that he's put in to improve, and the reviews about his development from players, from coaches, and even fans seem to be fairly optimistic for him taking a huge step in year number 2. But the reason I'm confident he is going to take a big year 2 leap is, for one, he's keeping the same offensive coordinator in Matt Canada. Canada has gotten so much criticism from Steelers fans, especially last year with how the offense was run. It was very conservative, didn't play to the strength of the receivers and other skill position players on the team. But Mike Tomlin thought it would be beneficial to keep the same offensive coordinator in the same system with a second-year quarterback. I think that was a good decision to bring him back to continue to develop Kenny Pickett under the same scheme and offense. And the second big reason I am so optimistic in him taking a big year 2 leap is the skill position weaponry that he has on the outside. The Steelers have done a fantastic job building their offensive weaponry and their offensive supporting cast for a young quarterback. They have 3 wide receivers that are going to be able to win one-on-one matchups, starting with George Pickens as their wide receiver 1. The Georgia product came in last year as a second-round pick for the Steelers and had a great rookie season, 52 catches, 801 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He was so impressive early on that the Steelers felt confident enough to send Chase Claypool to Chicago and give Pickens even more touches. And now the hype for Pickens heading into the season is sky high. He's made numerous really nice plays in training camp and practice and in the preseason. But he is not the only really good wide receiver on the team. They also have Deontay Johnson, the team's former number 1 wide receiver. His numbers were a little bit down last season, but he still had a really good season with 86 catches, 882 yards, but he had 0 touchdowns, which I definitely think will change this year. I mentioned this in a past video, but I think the lack of chemistry between Pickett and Johnson was a reason he wasn't targeted a ton in the red zone. With another offseason together, I think that connection will be improved. And then their wide receiver 3 is Allen Robinson. They traded a 7th round pick to the Los Angeles Rams to get him. It's really crazy to see where Allen Robinson's value is now, because just a couple years ago when he was playing for the Bears, he was seen as a borderline top 10 wide receiver. He obviously isn't around that caliber anymore, but can he still be a solid wide receiver and a good third option on a team? I definitely think so. So with 3 very solid options at wide receiver gives the Steelers some versatility on who plays in the slot and different matchups they might be able to attack. But that is not the extent of their skill position group. They also have a 2-headed monster in the backfield with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren as their 1-2 punch. Najee in year 2 had over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. He didn't get as many touches because Ben Roethlisberger was not sitting there every play dumping it off to him over and over and over. But I still thought he had a pretty good season. I know a lot of people were kind of down on him, especially people who drafted him early in their fantasy draft, but he came on late for the Steelers, I think, once their offensive line started to gel a little bit. But heading into year 3 with lowered expectations, I think he's going to have a really good season this year as well. And Jaylen Warren this year is entering year number 2. He's really the speed to Najee's power. I think they complement each other really well. And he's another guy that's looked really impressive in the preseason. It's actually kind of a rumor right now in the NFL that he's going to overtake Najee for the starting running back position. I don't really see that. I don't know if he can be a bell cow because he is 5'8". He's kind of a smaller running back. I don't really think it matters who gets the most carries or who's considered the lead back. I think they're both going to have their own roles. I think they're both going to have a huge part in the offense. I think it's better for offenses anyway to have multiple backs they can play. It's a very taxing position, and sometimes your lead back towards the end of the season wear down a little bit, and teams that don't have a good backup, the running game suffers because of it. So again, I really like the Steelers backfield and think it has a chance to be pretty special in 2023. And lastly, to round out their skill position group, they have a really nice tight end who's super underrated in Pat Freiermuth. Freiermuth took a leap last season, and in year 3, I think think he's going to be even better. He really emerged as the safety blanket for Kenny Pickett, and we've already seen his role in the red zone increase in the preseason. And another player I'm fascinated to watch this year is Darnell Washington, the rookie tight end from Georgia. I was high on him coming out of the draft and thought he was a slam dunk first round pick, but then some reports came out reportedly about his knee and he dropped like a rock. The Steelers were able to steal him in the 3rd round, and he's yet another massive threat for their offense, standing at 6'7". I think as a rookie, his role could primarily be to block, but then again, with his size, I think he'll be a massive addition for the running game. So yeah, Kenny Pickett has some nice guys to utilize, and now it's about the guys up front being able to block for him effectively. Pro Football Focus actually ranks them as the 12th best offensive line heading into the season. They have 2 new starters compared to last year's unit, but relatively all the best players from the line a year ago are returning. The 2 newcomers are rookie Broderick Jones, the left tackle from Georgia. He was a pretty sought after player in the draft. The Steelers actually traded up to get him, and he's been pretty impressive this offseason. Matt Canada said, "I really like him. I think he plays super hard. I think he does everything you'd like a guy to do." And the other addition was left guard Isaac Samalu from the Philadelphia Eagles. He started every game for the Eagles last year, and they were seen as the best offensive line in the league. He's got a lot of experience. I think he's going to be a solid addition to help fortify their interior. So offensively, I really like their talent. I don't think there's a reason why they can't be a top 10 offense this year. In the end, I do think it comes down to Kenny Pickett and his progression in year 2. All the pieces are there to be successful. But now heading over to their defense, I don't think they have as much depth as they do on offense, but it's really about the star power on that side of the ball. You have one of the best players in the entire league in TJ Watt leading that defense. You have Minka Fitzpatrick in the secondary, who has emerged as one of the best safeties in the entire league. You got a star defensive tackle and Cameron Hayward, who is getting up there in age, but is still a very productive player. I also got to mention Alex Highsmith, who stepped in for TJ Watt last year and had 14.5 sacks, which is pretty ridiculous. I think what will make or break that Steelers defense from being a really good unit versus just being a good one is the back end of their defense. They have 2 brand new linebackers in Cole Holcomb from the Washington Commanders and Landon Roberts from the Dolphins. Landon Roberts is a nice run stopping linebacker. He's not going to do a ton in coverage though, and that's kind of the same for Cole Holcomb as well. He's had really bad stats when targeted by opposing quarterbacks. So I'm going to be interested in how the Steelers use these guys on their defense and how they kind of hide their deficiencies as players. In the secondary, their 2 starting corners is going to be Levi Wallace, who's a pretty solid option, and the new rookie cornerback Joey Porter Jr., the son of longtime Steeler legend Joey Porter. They also signed Patrick Peterson. They may put him in the slot as he's getting a little bit older as a corner, but if anything, he's a very solid insurance policy in case Joey Porter does not start off the year super well or Levi Wallace struggles. Errol Austin will be back. This will be his 2nd year being the defensive coordinator for the team, so that's some more continuity. I think that should help the defense get off to a faster start. But overall, defensively, I think they're going to be just fine just because of some of the star elite players they have. I have a few more question marks regarding their defense than their offense, but Mike Tomlin always has that defense playing well. That's his specialty, so I think they're going to be just fine, if anything, an above average unit. But despite the roster construction and having Mike Tomlin as their head coach, many people are still not sure of them being a playoff team this year. A big reason for that is the division they're in, the AFC North. It's one of the best and most competitive divisions year in and year out. You have the Cleveland Browns, who should be better this year. You have the Cincinnati Bengals, who have been a perennial playoff team with Joe Burrow under center. And then the Baltimore Ravens, they made a lot of moves this offseason to improve as well. And all 4 teams are just not going to make the playoffs from that division, so it's hard to find the 2 or 3 teams that may be able to get in. So I think it's going to be an interesting battle to watch all season long, but every day I feel a little bit more confident the Steelers will be one of those teams to make it out of the North and actually make the playoffs next season. As I've already stated throughout the video, I'm going to say it one more time. Kenny Pickett is going to make or break the Steelers season this year. If he takes the leap that everybody is expecting him to and that he should theoretically take this year, the Steelers basically have everything that you want in a team to make a playoff run. But if he struggles, I think the Steelers could fall behind rather quickly just because Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are 2 of the other quarterbacks in the division. But I want to know what you think about the Pittsburgh Steelers and how many games you think they're going to win in 2023, and also the style line you think Kenny Pickett will have, how many yards and how many touchdowns he will throw for. But subscribe to the channel if you're new, drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and as always, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.